Hello you lovely lot, my name is Max and welcome back to my YouTube channel and another Nottingham Forest match preview. Yes, we are back after a week away. We are back for another Forest match preview. Apologies for missing the West Brom game on Monday. I was taking some time over Easter to see some families, so understandably wasn't the top of my priority list on that occasion. We are back though. We're going to be talking today about our game against Peterborough United, one of our last games really of the season. I think we've only got about 4 or 5 games left until the end of the season, and hopefully either this weekend or next weekend we can wrap up our place in the playoffs and maybe even look towards those automatic promotion places. As we usually do, we're going to spend some time talking about our previous match today, talking about that West Brom game on Monday night, what a fixture it was. But if you don't want me to see me talk about that, I will leave the time code on screen as always, so you can just skip forward and we can talk about the Peterborough game together. But as for now, we're going to talk about that West Brom win. And of course, as always, don't forget to drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. These videos come out every single time Forest are playing, bar unfortunately that game against West Brom, where we talk pretty consistently about what to expect from our opponents, the stats, all that good stuff. So if you're new around here, drop a like, subscribe down below, and let's talk about that West Brom game on Monday night. And what a result it was, a 4-0 thrashing of the Baggies, probably scoring the goal of the season. To be fair, that Colback goal as well wasn't too bad as well, and really it never looked out of our hands. Like I just mentioned there, it didn't really ever look out of our hands, the result, bouncing back really well from that disappointing 1-0 defeat against Luton the week prior. In this match, we saw around 70% possession of the ball, probably one of our highest possession rankings over the course of the season, although that's probably skewed quite largely by the red card received by West Brom. We also took 17 shots over the course of the match, again probably a season high for us, whilst only conceding one ourselves, which from what I remember was a blocked shot from West Brom, which was not very good. And to be fair, West Brom did spend most of this game on the back foot, largely because of that double yellow card for Darnell Furlong, sent off in the first half, that second yellow card he received being the one that led to the penalty to open the scoring from Brennan Johnson. And of course, later goals in the game came from Ryan Yates from that corner, that wonder strike from super Jackie Colback, and of course a late Sam Surridge goal to put the game beyond the Baggies. Don't want to spend too much more time talking about West Brom now. I think we've pretty much done that to death. I want to talk more about the importance of that result and the man of the match, and that result on the day is very important, solidifying our places in the playoff, making it within a couple of results for us to be guaranteed a playoff place for the first time in more or less a decade. I feel like it was a decade ago we had that really good season we finished in the playoffs. And of course the man of the match on the day was super Jackie Colback, the Ginger Perlo, the second coming of Gazza himself. The big man managed to bag himself probably the best goal I have seen scored by a Nottingham Forest player in my lifetime. I was talking about a mate with it on Twitter and we were weighing up whether it was that one or the Lewis McGugan free kick from about 12 odd years ago against Ipswich. And I think it's really close, but personally just the technique on this one, oh, it's a peach. If you've somehow not seen it, please go find it. It's a beauty of a finish from that Ginger maestro. Getting back on track though, Colback obviously got that pretty important goal. He even contributed in the remainder of the game, completing around 5 defensive actions over the course of the 90 minutes and looking reassuredly probably one of our most solid players on the day, and he deserves a lot of credit as well. The man has been playing out of position for the majority of this season on the left hand side of that defence, in which he has put a pretty admirable performance up over the course of most of the season, and when Maxwell's been back in the squad has done a very solid job in midfield as and when he's been required to as well. But let's get this video back on track and start talking about our opponents on Saturday, Peterborough United. A very important tie for both teams. In fairness, Peterborough fighting for championship survival this season, and us obviously looking to close down that place in the playoffs. And I've got to say, it's not been a great season for Peterborough so far. After a decade away from the championship, they're really struggling to adjust to life back in the second division. I can't say I've been following them hugely this season. They're not exactly top of my priority list, but this is what we do know about them. Obviously, on the surface, promoted from League One last season after finishing pretty consistently in the sort of top half of the table since their return to the third division about a decade ago. At the time of recording, however, they sit pretty solidly in the relegation zone. I don't think they're going to be surviving this season. They might pull a great escape. It'll be some kind of miracle for them to achieve it. And they've had two managers over the course of this season. Darren Ferguson, the man who led them from League One to the Championship, and actually until quite recently only sacked about 2 months ago the son of the former Man United manager Alex Ferguson, and he was replaced by former player and actually former Hull City manager Grant McCann, who did a really good job getting a club in turmoil in Hull City back into the Championship last season, and was unfortunately sacked after the change in ownership up on the northeast of England. He has replaced Darren Ferguson at the helm of Peterborough, as I mentioned, and is doing a pretty decent job at the moment. On the surface, they probably look like our easiest opponents left in the calendar for the remainder of this season, but do they actually line up that way? Do their stats merit a team sitting in the relegation zone? Let's talk a little bit about how they're doing under the hood this season. You will not be surprised to hear that Peterborough are not that good this season in terms of not just their league positioning but also their stats under the hood. They've conceded the most goals in the Championship this season with 83 against, and have scored the third fewest goals with just 38 going in the back of their net. Not really things lining up for a team looking to survive another season of Championship football. And it goes much deeper than this. Peterborough take the fewest shots in the Championship per match, around 9, and concede the most shots per 90 in the Championship, or per match in the Championship, at around 15. They are hugely in shot deficit, and a team that do not look like they should be at this level of football, unfortunately to say. And it's not like they're even that good at finishing the chances that they do get. They have one of the worst conversion rates in the Championship, comfortably bottom 5, I believe, with just 8%. But with all that being said, they do have a decent run of form heading into the back end of this season, including just 2 losses in their last 10 games, which sort of coincides with the appointment of Grant McCann as manager. And some of the wins they picked up over the course of the last couple of months are against some pretty big sides in the Championship this season, including playoff chasing QPR and Blackburn in recent weeks. And a big reason why they're on such a good bounce after the reappointment of a new manager is they've been conceding far less shots in their games and generating more chances. And as obvious as that seems, it really does make a marked difference in just turning around how a team looks on the surface. And it does look like even if they are relegated this season, they're probably going to be in a decent position to bounce back next season, with them being in such decent form at the moment, having had that bounce from Grant McCann and him being a manager fairly experienced in League One and getting teams promoted to the Championship. So I feel like they'll probably be fine even if they're relegated. The last thing I want to talk about is the goalkeeping situation down in Peterborough, because it is not a good picture at the moment. Their first choice goalkeeper, David Cornell, who has been pretty much their first choice keeper over the course of the season. I did check, yes, he is still at the club, unlike a certain Simon Schluger, as you mentioned in my previous video. He has a save percentage of just 62%. This season does David Cornell. He's not having a good season, and considering average in the Championships around 69-70%, really doesn't read for good viewing. Now, you could make the argument that the volume of shots and the quality of players around him is the reason why he is skewed so much or so lowly in his goalkeeping save percentage, but look at teams in and around that area of the table. Hull City's 2 goalkeepers this season, who they sort of interchange between, have a save percentage each in the 70s comfortably. Same as Kellerush at Derby County. His save percentage, even though they've already been relegated, is comfortably in the 70s. You tend to find bad sides at least have a decent keeper, and unfortunately Peterborough can't even say that much. But now we've discussed the merits of Peterborough United, which unfortunately don't look that promising. Let's talk about what us Forest fans can expect to see from them on the day, because they do have a fairly distinct system, and although there isn't a lot out there on what to find online of what they do, it was fairly easy to sort of piece together from the data how they try and line up. Firstly, Peterborough have used predominantly a 5 at the back, 3 at the back system for the majority of this season. Although since the appointment of Grant McCann, he has definitely become a lot more open and adventurous in the systems that he's choosing, or the way in which he lines his team up. And it's usually reactive or proactive, I guess you'd call it, in the way in which the opposition lines up on the day. So I wouldn't be surprised for them to go some form of man-to-man system, try and go 3 at the back to match what has become quite popularly our system over the course of this season. In terms of the actual style and the substance, they rank pretty lowly in the Championship for possession per match at around 47 Despite this, they are a team that when they do get the ball are pretty proactive when they do get it, looking to get the ball as high and as far forward of the pitch as possible, ranking I believe 5th in the league for accurate long balls per match. These are passes with a distance over 30 meters in length, and in terms of long balls or long passes they attempt in general in matches, they're pretty efficient, so they're pretty well drilled in this system. They usually know when to stick or twist as to when they're going to go for a long pass. Of course, the long ball system is something we're all pretty familiar with, looking to get the ball up front, trying to knock it down, win headers, that kind of stuff. It seems like that tends to be the kind of way in which this Peterborough team tried to play. Another noticeable aspect of the game from what limited stuff I have been able to see prior to this video is that they do direct a lot of their football through the centre of the pitch. This just tends to be a trademark of the way in which they play, and the stats do support this, to be fair. They are the team who take the highest proportion of their touches within the centre area of the pitch. There's not a lot of natural width in that side, and then when they do get the ball in the final third, they then look to shuttle it out into the wide areas to take their opportunities. A big suggestion from this is that they don't generate particularly good opportunities. They take the fewest proportion of their shots from inside the central area of the pitch. They rank lowest in the championship for that. So for my money, I believe that means that they are a team that aren't very good at getting those high quality opportunities. Obviously, you're more likely to score a goal from a central area than you are from the wide area, the half space. That's just sort of sod's law, and it does feel like they're a team who struggle to generate not just chances, but real chances of any quality. According to Who Scored, their best player this season has been Johnson Clark-Harris, and it's pretty easy to see why that is and why he's probably the most valuable asset at the moment. 27-year-old has 11 goals and 3 assists this season. He takes the most shots in the Peterborough squad. He creates the 3rd most chances in that squad as well, and for my money is probably their best player, and has clocked in a 6.85 rating on Who Scored over the course of this season. If they were to get relegated, he is probably a player who could find himself bouncing back to a championship side, maybe one of the promoted teams from this season upcoming, and I do think they'll probably get a decent amount of money for him. So again, I think they'll probably be fine. They're a club used to turnover, obviously having sold the likes of Britt Sombalonga and Ivan Toney over the years. They know how to find good forwards. To summarise, Peterborough are a pretty narrow team who look to defend pretty deep as well and counter as high up the pitch and as efficiently as possible when they got the opportunity to. This is something Forest aren't that unaccustomed to. A lot of teams still adopt this kind of style in the Championship, and actually there's definitely some similarities between the way they play and the way Forest play. We're definitely very good on the counter-attack when we look to get direct. The biggest issue for them is going to be their lack of width in this team, and I do think this is really where the game's going to be won for us. I think Brennan Johnson and Jed Spence, particularly down that right-hand side, Philip Zinkenagel, if he gets the chance to go down the left, because he's been decent form the last couple of weeks, I can see them causing some real problems in the half space and in the wide area, creating some decent chances. And I do feel like even Sam Surridge, he's been in decent form recently. I feel like he'll probably be able to get on the end of a couple of them chances from Brennan, Jed Spence, Jack Colback out on the left if he's not smacking them in the top corner. You get the idea. Overall, I see this being a pretty cut and dry affair for the Reds. Probably the last one of these over the course of this season, as we do have Bournemouth and Fulham upcoming in probably the 2 biggest games of the last few years, I would say, for Nottingham Forest Football Club. In terms of a result, I'm going to suggest probably a 3-0 win for the Reds. Like I say, fairly cut and dry. I wouldn't be surprised to see Brennan get a goal or an assist on the day, and hopefully we can keep the clean sheet, as we've been pretty good at doing that this season. Of course, as always, let me know who you think is going to win this game in the comments section down below. What are your score predictions, and who do you think the man of the match on the day will be? Like I said, 3-0 result hopefully incoming. Hopefully Brennan will be starring on the day and pushing us towards promotion back to the Premier League. With that being said though, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoy the game, Reds. I will see you next week. Later.